Clearly some of the challenges in paper in particular, especially when there's a lot of ink coverage and when there's a lot of folds, is of course being sensitive to cracking. 99% of the time in working in paper we're die cutting and folding, so we're working with creases and perfs and cut scores. When we design and lay out a piece on a press sheet, we're designing and laying it out to work both with ink coverage but also with mechanism. And often, very often, those are at odds with one another. The right grain direction to help us prevent cracking from an ink perspective is the wrong direction to ensure that the mechanism will work properly in relation to the grain direction. So having discovered Invercote and its ability to be essentially impervious to the needs of grain, and we can focus on laying out the sheet for the needs of the mechanism, that's helped us tremendously in design. In one case, when we produced for limited brands in the Victoria's Secret Stores division of that company, we produced their 2008-2009 holiday gift card carrier. It was a little over 4 million pieces, and we designed an origami type box. If you can imagine a coffee filter, in an industrial coffee filter, with scores coming from every direction so that it can form into the coffee filter holder, and then that's where you put your coffee. Well, this was essentially the design of this origami box that came together with scores and folds and perfs and cuts in virtually 360-degree array. So there was no way to leverage the grain direction of the stock to prevent cracking of this heavy ink coverage piece. In addition to that, we beat the heck out of the sheet. We not only printed it in multiple passes with multiple hits of solid coverage ink, but we also foil stamped it, embossed it, and die cut it. So 5 press passes in all, each time going through sets of rollers, literally abuses the sheet of paper. What we found with Invercote was the only solution, which we tested against 2 other board stocks, that was able to survive not only the abuse that we hammered the sheet with, but also it performed. In every case of every score, in every degree of direction, there was no cracking. And this was essential to this piece because the entire surface of the piece, with all this heavy ink coverage, pinks and dark pinks, would have truly detracted from the design had we had white cracking coming through on the creases. Since the introduction of Invercote into our design department, it helps us with our mantra of never having to say no to a client that can't be done, because now grain direction in relation to cracking on our press sheets is not an issue.